Good afternoon. I am so excited that you guys have chosen to be in this room today. My name is Sharon Harper. I am with the Guelph, and I'm so brand new. I still don't even know what my title is. I'm the yeah, that's what I am. I'm looking at evidence and impact. So that's what we're kind of looking. That's my new title. So we're glad to be. I'm glad to have you guys in here today. Dr. Terry Oliver is going to bring to us some very, very good information about early childhood. Is that in? Kind of saying it in the right way. And so looking at literacy rich classrooms, and I'm so excited to hear what she has to say because she has a proven track record. And so I'm really excited to let her share with you. And so here we go. Dr. Terry.
You. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am so happy to see you all. It's only a few of us because very few of us want to talk about the money related to literacy and how it all connects. But there is a direct line to funding, money, and having a literacy rich classroom. And so I have the very honor today of bringing all of those together in a unique way. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Dr. Terry Oliver. Funny story. I always wanted to be a teacher. You know, I was that little girl that lined all of the cousins up and made them read and had the ruler and all of that back in the day, and learned very early on, teachers don't make any money. I heard that over and over. You're not going to be able to sustain yourself. So I went into my undergraduate work at Clark Atlanta University as a journalism major, knowing good and well I wanted to be a teacher. I remember calling my aunt who was going to help me facilitate today and telling her, I can no longer do this. I cannot do this. I don't care if I don't make a dime. I have got to be a teacher. And so was just blessed to take that drive and that love and all of that and become a teacher. Well, I learned very early on, it was true, teachers don't make any money, especially not in the 90s when I first started. But the bigger thing for me, working in an underserved community, was that as a first-year teacher, they gave me the kids who were repeating the grade, of course, right? All of the children who were the toughest ones behavioral-wise. And I thought, these kids retained the grade not because they weren't ready or couldn't read. It was strictly because they did not have the early literacy foundation. And so because of that, being a 24-year-old with all of the energy, I said to my dad, I can do this better than anybody. I can do it. And so he believed me, gave me my old childhood home, started a family day home with 3 students in the den, and eventually bought 3 commercial centers. Did that for 27 years, 109 students, 27 employees, and a wait list of about 65 students when I retired out back in 21. Which led me to the work that I got to do in a program. All of you are probably familiar, many of you are familiar with Porter Leith. Yeah, big nonprofit organization in early childhood education in the city of Memphis. I got the opportunity to be the very first business coach for a program called Next Memphis. And Next Memphis, I don't know how to work a blinker and all of that, so we're gonna try. Next Memphis, I'll go back to agenda, is a shared service model, which I was not familiar with. When I had my child care center, I did everything myself. Balanced the books, bought the books, cooked, drove the van, all of those things. And so when I learned about this shared service model, where a company could come alongside a small childcare business and give them some back-end support from a business standpoint, from a family standpoint, from an educational standpoint, I was excited to become that childcare business coach. Have you ever worked at a company or for yourself in any capacity, even if you're a baker or if you are a grandma or you're the best reader at your church and you think your way is the only way? Yeah, that was me. Went into Next Memphis and learned about a concept called the Iron Triangle. And the Iron Triangle is not just a unique business strategy for businesses, for all businesses, it is also relevant to child care centers. And so Porterleaf and Next Memphis and the shared service model said, Dr. Oliver, you cannot do what you want to do when you coach these programs. You must use the Iron Triangle model for childcare businesses. And so my supervisor, if you'll raise your hand, my former supervisor, raise your hand, Alicia Norman, gave me 4 sheets of paper and said, coach. And that's exactly what we did at Porterleaf through that initiative. We worked on the Iron Triangle, which was full enrollment, full collection of fees for childcare, and making sure that the child care center's resources covered their expenses. Well, Dr. Oliver, what does this have to do with literacy? It has everything to do with literacy, because it is important that the money matches the mission and the mission matches the money. And so there's some strategies that small child care centers needed to use based on the Iron Triangle. So I'm going to keep clicking, y'all, because I don't think my clicker worked in my small business. So I'm pretty excited about having one. But I do want to take a moment to introduce my Aunt Lula, who told me to become a teacher no matter what. And she is now here today, wave, Lula, to help me facilitate this training on today. We're going to take a different approach, y'all. We're not going to just sit here. I cannot stand it. I'm a busybody, like to get up and move and move and move. And so we're going to touch and feel some things. I'm sure you know there are 2 types of doctoral programs, PhD and what's the other? EDD. So I'm EDD. Those are the crazy people who are practitioners. We touch the work. We understand the importance of research, but we touch the work. So today in this session, we're going to touch the work, okay? We're going to do some activities. We're going to move around. We're going to have a little fun. The lecture style, there's nothing wrong with that. But I do believe that the understanding of the Iron Triangle, the balancing of the books, and making sure that the mission matches the money so that you can be a literacy champion is better served with you moving around. So we're going to move around just a little bit today. So what is the objective? Got that? I saw the clicker. Works, baby. Okay. I want all of you all to understand the critical role and the impact of utilizing the Iron Triangle framework to sustain sound business practices in early childhood programs, and how effectively managing this framework directly supports the center's ability to advance literacy outcomes. So let's get ready for our first little activity. So my Aunt Lula's going to come around and you're going to get 3 popsicle sticks. When you think about these 3 popsicle sticks, you've got the Iron Triangle in place in mind, okay? And the Iron Triangle is full enrollment of a child care center, your cost cover fees, and that a child care center is collecting all of their child care fees. Sometimes when we think about literacy in early childhood, you're thinking about a pre-K program. You're thinking about a Head Start program. You're thinking about the child care center in the basement of your church. I'm thinking about Joni's daycare, right? Who's going to have an impact on 7 children who are going to enter into our programs, enter into our schools, who's going to be our banker. I'm thinking about JoJo's daycare center on the corner of South Memphis, who's been there for 30 years, and all of the cousins go there, right? They don't get the grant. They don't know how to write an RFP. So they've got to balance their triangle. So what I want you to do is I want you to take your rubber band and make your triangle stay together. Use your rubber band, your 3 popsicle sticks, and create a triangle. Don't put much thought into it, just make a triangle. Somebody said trick to it. Can you relate trick to it to what a privately owned child care center may be feeling? And I'm concentrating, let me say this first, I'm privately owned child care centers because they're under-resourced. There's no way that you can teach children to read or be ready for them to be literate and fluent and all of those things that we know is important if you don't have money. So a trick to it, relate that to a privately owned child care center, a small child care center, or mom and pop.
Well, I think to the see I would be wondering how these bigger should be on the day that they're
Absolutely.
some out of,
Must be something.
I mean that's work.
Absolutely. It's got to be something I'm not doing right. Mhm. So if you have a provider who's questioning, because we know the North Star is literacy, but if you have a great provider who's questioning whether or not they're doing it right, and they decide to close, what happens to our community and to those seats? Those seats are gone, right? On year 27, in September 21st, 2021, when I said, hey, I'm done, I can't do it anymore, I'm tired, which I already had a plan to not do it anymore, we lost 109 seats in Memphis. That's a lot of seats, right? 27 people lost their job. 218 parents had to find additional child care. Do you think that's going to have an impact on literacy? Yeah, sure it is. It's going to affect our community. And let me take one more from this one. Somebody said they had to be careful or one at a time. Who wants to take a stab at that? Explain a little bit more.
I mean I yeah you actually yeah.
Absolutely. And bring some literacy on there too. All right.
So if you weren't when you were kind of putting your sides together, if you weren't careful when the teachers go at the the child care providers like they use
Absolutely. Yep, all of the things, everything affects everything. So you're absolutely right. So that's why this framework, that is such a simple framework, can ultimately affect businesses, affect our books, and then affect what? Literacy. It just does. The same thing happens if you put a teacher in the center of that. If something is out of whack, I can't concentrate on my staff, can't make sure staff has professional development, that I'm keeping them happy. They leave, the turnover affects the children, and then the children don't have that strong teacher anymore who is helping them with those early phonemic awareness skills and left to right progression and writing in journals. You know, they're really good teacher that you get. They get the CDA, and then they leave. The iron triangle affects that as well. So thank you for participating in what seemed like a really small thing, but the iron triangle affects literacy. All right, so y'all know I'm struggling with all of this stuff in my hand, but I'm going to keep going, all right? So bear with me. This is the definition of the iron triangle. The iron triangle is a foundational financial framework used in early childhood education and other businesses to ensure the fiscal sustainability of child care centers, and it emphasizes the critical balance among these three components: full enrollment, full fee collection, and that their cost is covering revenue. Next, Memphis and Port-a-Leaf had the brilliant idea to help small child care businesses sustain their programs. So I'm not in that role anymore, but that's passion work for me. What we did was help them to build their enrollment. We helped them with strong accounting practices. We helped them look at their budget to determine where they were spending too much, where they were not spending enough. They had the opportunity and still have the opportunity to write for grants and become a part of Head Start, to partner with larger organizations. So when the shared service model of Next Memphis is implemented through Port-a-Leaf, the circle gets bigger and there's a larger impact, which leads to stronger literacy practices in early childhood education in the Memphis community. Make sense? All right. The work is still going on now. It hasn't stopped. And Alicia Norman will be here afterwards to kind of talk to you all a little bit more about Next Memphis and some of the work that's being done. I'm going to slow down. Any questions so far? Nope. All right. The next slide is, what did we learn in Next Memphis? So we know that the North Star, which is related to early literacy, even though it seems far away, was at full enrollment, full fee collection, and that the costs cover expenses. We thought that by just concentrating on these things, that the child care businesses were going to get stronger. It didn't happen that way. Because I could say all day long as the child care business coach, you need more kids, you need more kids, you need more kids. But without teaching strategy, there were no more kids. Most early childhood directors have a degree in early childhood education. Very few have a degree in business. There are strategies related to full enrollment. And we're going to talk about some of those strategies that Next Memphis and the child care business coach was teaching. We thought that if we told them, collect your money, right? Don't let anybody leave, even with the $5, that was going to sustain their businesses. But it didn't, because there's strategies related to that. We thought that if we told them, balance your books, every Friday, look at how much you spent, see how much you have left over, and balance your books. You don't have to be an accountant to do that. You know if you've spent too much. There's strategies to that. And so as we're working to educate children, we also have to work to educate early childhood center directors on strong business practices. I always say that in communities, early childhood programs, especially the smaller centers, have two missions: to educate young children, but they're also small businesses in the community. We forget to look at that important part, that if a small business closes, then the chamber should be looking like we just lost income for people who may not have been hireable, right? If my uncle, who only wants to work 4 hours a day, comes to be my bus driver, well, then he'll stay with me. He doesn't want to go to KinderCare. But if you don't sustain that small business, you're not just affecting children, you're affecting the economy of your community. That's why that full circle and the trickle down is so important. So I'm going to get to literacy, but I want you to understand the full circle of all of the things and how they are all connected. So again, we're using the iron triangle as our model. What did we do? Has anybody ever been on a child care tour? When you were trying to get a tour, okay, tell me what you noticed at the child care tour at the center that you didn't pick. The smell, What else? Disengaged workers, yep. Busy parking lot. You couldn't even get in the parking lot. Yeah. How does that affect literacy? What if the mom says, I'm just going to leave my home, of grandmama's house, with Elmo, and just watch Elmo all day, right? Yeah. We learned in Next Memphis that you've got to teach child care center directors strategies on tours. So we started to push in and teach them about touring parents. What do you want to look for? We tell them to make sure that the centers smell well, you have curb appeal, your teachers are engaged, and that you are welcoming to those families. They would tour, our centers would tour all day long. If somebody came to the door at 9 o'clock wanted to tour, they tour them. Somebody came to the door at 11 o'clock, they tour them. Came at 3 o'clock, they tour them. We had to teach them that you have to, just as any other business, set those appointments, right? So that you can give them a fully engaged tour. You are not faking it. What you're doing is you're preparing. How does that affect literacy? The more children in seats, if you have a quality program and the mission matches the money, then you're going to be enrolling more students who are going to get those early literacy skills in your program. What are some of the challenges related to collecting child care fees? Do you all think that they just pay? No. They don't. Has anyone in here ever been a child care center director? Even if it was a long time ago? You did. Did they pay? Not unless you what? We forget about that because we're thinking about a pre-K program where it's free. You're thinking about a Head Start program where it's free. She's right. Sometimes those directors literally have to turn the children around at the door and say, you cannot attend because your fees have not been paid. Does that affect literacy? Absolutely. No attendance, yes.
There's also what we've noticed is like parents who get smart steps and like say for instance they're only paying $20 a week, but they haven't paid that $20 in 8 months.
What does that add up to? Who's quick? 20 times 160 times 12 months. Come on, somebody, give me a, how much? About $1,800. Can we buy some books with that? She's right. We would have parents, and I had that this in my child care center, and definitely with our partners, the parents only paid $5 a week because they had a Smart Step certificate that paid the rest. So the director would say, well, Dr. I'm just not going to collect that $5. Yes, you are. Yeah, because $5 a week is $20 a month. Over a 12-month period is whatever it is. Over a 5-year period, that's a new playground set. So we had to teach them all of those things because, yes, my supervisor gave me the 4 sheets with the iron triangle as the goal, right? But we learned that there's so many things around the iron triangle to strengthen those directors, to make them stronger business owners so that they can even teach kids anything. Yes.
Similarly, we've done some listening sessions recently with child care providers, and we're hearing that DHS is a big barrier in turning those fees around quickly.
Absolutely.
And also, if families lose those vouchers, the child care center doesn't know, and then that child is still attending, and that cost of care is not being covered until they get that voucher back.
Does that affect literacy? Absolutely it does. And it affects the small business, doesn't it? Yeah. And so we're having to teach our directors strategies like check your email every single day. For us, if you're sitting at a desk, you're advocating for students, you're in your plush offices or whatever. This lady or guy just got off the bus. They had to go in and teach. So imagine them remembering to check the email. By the time they go to that email, the child has been there 5 days, at the least. I remember back in my day, they would send it to us in the mail. Y'all, I would have a bag of mail I'd bring home on Sunday. I have so much stuff in the mail. The certificate ended 30 days ago. That's hard. What happens to that parent who almost qualifies, doesn't qualify, used to qualify, and they keep telling you, it's coming, it's coming, and the director is waiting on that certificate in good faith. So those are just some of the barriers. What are any other challenges that you have heard or that you're aware of with directors collecting those child care fees? I think I made a chart. I was so excited to make this chart, y'all, so y'all gonna get this chart.
I know a major challenge is just the parent not being able to pay the fees because, childcare, when I look at the weekly fees now, it goes, and I had 5 children, thank God I work in childcare, so I was able to bring my children to work with me every day until they went on to school, otherwise I wouldn't been able to make it. But, so you're talking about the minimum of $250 a week,
That's a lot.
which is more than a lot of people spend.
I want to bring something out. You got tough skin. Can I pick on you just a bit? Thank you. You said something very important. You said that you had 5 kids, and I'm assuming they all were under 5 or something, or close to it, so they had to go to child care with you, right? Okay, somebody get a calculator. Let's give the lowest rate. We'll give a lowest Tennessee rate. Let's just say 175 times 5, right? Because we want to know what your child care fee would have been. Okay, that's for 1 week. $875 for the week times 4 weeks times 12 months. Okay, so 42,000. So that's the benefit to you, right? What does it do to the small business? The small business loses that income. Does it affect literacy? It could, because they've given up those 5 spots in that child care center to parents where they could have generated income. Benefit to you, we want to keep you because you're a good teacher, but we can't hire anybody else. We're losing $42,000 a year. That's going to affect our ability to buy books. That's going to affect our ability to, hooked on phonics was a big thing when I was in child care. So benefit to you, not a benefit to the small business, right? Those are the types of strategies, thank you. Those are the type of strategies that we had to take a hard look at when I was working with those directors and say, how much is too much of a discount? We don't think about that because all we're saying is literacy, 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 literacy. That's important, but you got to get to it, right? 85% of all children who enter childcare will enter childcare through a privately owned program first. If it's Bright Horizon, that's corporate, but it's private-ish. La Petite, the Academy. So that means 80% of these kids are going to go there first before they ever see some of these government-funded programs. Those first 3 years are probably going to be spent in private industry. So we're helping the parent, hurting the small business. That balance of all of those things affects literacy, but because it affects our ability to pay, and literacy cost. The expertise of literacy costs, because it's not just about books, right? There's a science to teaching children to read. Got to be trained to do that. So some of the challenges that we saw in Next Memphis was parents just simply forgetting to pay, and that was very prevalent. So Next Memphis had the idea of buying a child care management system for all of our partners. That was expensive. So ProCare, you familiar with child care management systems? ProCare, Brightwell, Frog Street, some of those. The child care certificates ended, someone mentioned that. Those income challenges, it's expensive to educate young children. Some people had multiple children, so they couldn't afford it. Job loss, this was the one right here, refuse and move, I gave it the name. They refused to pay, and then they'd move on to the next center. Yeah. Did you know that in Tennessee we have no tracking system of that? Did you know that? We don't. A person can leave the academy and go to La Petite, leave owing me $350, go to La Petite, stay with them for a week unless you are on them about paying, leave them owing $300, and so it's just trail of move and lose and refuse to pay. Even with certificates, DHS says it's your responsibility to collect. If you do not collect, you do not get paid, they move. All they got to do is ask for a transfer. Vacations, holidays, and summer breaks. I had the blessing of having a majority of privately owned parents, and I say a blessing because my income was a little bit more fluid, but those jokers did not want to pay. When they went on vacation to Cancun, that was on us. They didn't want to pay. They couldn't understand you're paying for a spot and not for attendance. All of this affects literacy because without the money, you can't be true to the what? To the mission. Okay? Y'all like my chart? Thanks. All right, we're going to do one more activity. I don't know where we are with our money, with our time. But we are going to do another activity right quick. Ms. Lula. Oh, we've got to get them to get into groups, 3 groups. We don't know how you want to do it, if you want to do it, where you want to do it, but just get into 3 groups, and we've got something that we want you to think about. 3 groups, all of y'all get together and be kind to each other. We're almost done. I have what, 15 more minutes? Okay. 21 minutes, okay. You in your groups? Just talk to each other. All right, I want you to think of yourself as you're in this group because I got only 21 more minutes and I'm a teacher and I got all this stuff, okay? So each cup is representative of something that you would use in your child care center, something that you have to pay for. Insurance, write down your categories. Insurance, curriculum, you should have 4 cups, right? Insurance, curriculum. Does anybody know what 941 taxes are? Okay, you know what 941, that's the employment taxes that you have to pay to have an employee, 11% on every dollar that you pay? Yeah. Small businesses have to do that. So if I pay you 7, I'm paying an additional 11% on that. So 941 taxes, we're not going to even deal with the salary, so we're just going to do with the 941 taxes. Curriculum, insurance, 941 taxes, and the light bill. All right? You've got $110. Categorize how it's going to be spent. You can spend $50 on curriculum. You can spend $100 on insurance, however you want to do it. But all you have is $110. Insurance, curriculum, light bill, and 941 taxes. And I know this is not enough. That's the point. I'm leaving out a whole lot of stuff. We didn't have enough cups and we didn't have enough play money. Right. So just humor me. Yeah, all right. So we know this is an unrealistic game, but just we're going somewhere with this, okay? And you've got maybe about 6 minutes to do that. All right. Just have something in your cups. All right. All right. Let me hear how you. Now put your money in your cups now and make sure your name and everything got your, you know how much you're spending on each thing? Okay. So we have group one. They're going to tell us how much money they had in their budget. Do you know which cup is which cup is which cup? Let's put, hold on. Okay. Hold on. Yeah, maybe. It doesn't matter. We watch. We're gonna put a spin on this thing. For your insurance, your curriculum, your light bill, and your taxes. 110 was the initial, and then we found out that there's more money in there than 110. So either way, okay, the point gonna get pointed. we gonna get there. I'm taking it all anyway. So there's another. All right. Okay. This group, y'all, we're going to go here because they are so ready. So let's go. They stuck to the initial, they stuck to the initial assignment of 110. So.
So for our 110, our rationale was we needed the lights. Without the lights, Jackie. We needed the lights because without paying a light bill, nothing else, we can't do anything else. So we allocated $40 for light bill, and if it's $100, we was going to get a payment plan because we knew it probably was more than 40, so we was going to pay part and get on a payment plan for the light bill. And we knew we needed to pay taxes because you can get in trouble with the IRS and some others for that. So we allocated $25 for that. And then the next big bucket was insurance because we wanted to be covered because liabilities are too great of a risk to not have insurance because it can cost you much, much more if you don't pay the insurance. Now, against my just everything that I know about me and curriculum, they only allocated $5 for curriculum because we were going to use free curriculum on the internet, on Google. We were going to make sure that the children had what they need. We allocated a very small amount so that we can get any resources that we need, like pencils and crayons and paper. So it's just representative of the fact that we know that there was not a lot left for curriculum, but curriculum has to be a priority, which leads to literacy. But as child care providers, they have all of these other competing costs because quality is not free and it is not cheap, but we realized we had to put something for curriculum.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yourselves a hand, and you did the 110. So cool. Do you see what they said about curriculum? You got another? Okay, because see, if you think about it now, we are already affecting curriculum. And literacy, right?
So he also said with that 110, we're in trouble. And we need funds to operate. My thought process was we probably did need to be open because we can't pay that light bill. And if a child gets hurt, then we're sued, right? We don't have the $5 for curriculum. You can't even run off. Although we're going to Google it, we're going to chat GPT, so we're going to have some fire curriculum for free, but we can't print it. And then the taxes, we're already in jail. We're in trouble because we can't pay that. So.
But how many small businesses have gotten in trouble with the 941 taxes? I did my second year in business, had to take out a second mortgage. I did, yeah, to get it paid. Yep, that's a true story. Absolutely. I was a 26-year-old, owned a business. 941 taxes were not coming out like they do now through a payroll company. I had an accountant. We didn't get it paid. It's an employment tax. That's how they're able to get Social Security. That's how they're able to get unemployment, all of that, which is why so many companies don't like to lay people off because their unemployment taxes increases with each layoff. So you could be at 3%, 4%, depending on the layoffs, which raises your 941, which means you have to pay more for each employee because your risk of layoff is higher, right? They don't teach you that when they're teaching you methods of reading, right? They don't teach you that. All right, so we're on a slim budget and we're already affecting literacy.
Okay. So I counted our money and I came up with $1,500 is what we have here. So, so I put $450 for insurance because we need to spend money on insurance. If you get accused of something, you have to have insurance. So that's a lot, $450 a month. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Then you need your utilities. I did $300 a month in utilities. You have to have lights. You have to have plumbing. And then your 941 taxes, $754. That's our entire budget. So curriculum is zero. We're going to ask. Yeah, we're going to go to Marketplace and we're going to look for free items. Yeah. Yeah, we're going to look for those free puzzles. We're going to look for those free books on Marketplace. We're going to go to yard sales. We're going to call Guelph.
All right. Do you all see where I'm going with this? How balancing the books affects the books and affects literacy. See, we're not taught that part. We're just pushing literacy. We've got to educate our providers. All right. Last group.
So we struggled a little bit, but we landed somewhere. And we also used the full allotment of money that we were given, not necessarily the 110. And ultimately what we did is just divided them equally between the buckets. And so sounds like it came out to 1,500 and we just divided that by 4.
Sounds good. Very good. All right. I'm going to put a curveball in this and it's only going to last for a second. I need since from the ones who used the full 11, whatever, 1,500, I need $250 because Janie's mom didn't pay child care. She left. She didn't pay. So I'm going to need $250. Which bucket will you take it from? 250. Come on. Let me see. And I need 10 of yours because Janie's mom didn't pay her copay. Okay, just give me. I want to hear. Just give me the 250. All right. Okay. Okay. So you pulled yours from 941 taxes. Okay. So this group pulled from 941 taxes. Where did you pull? $10. Okay. Give curriculum because she didn't pay that copay, that $10 copay, and $250. Where'd you pull from? You pulled from curriculum. Oh. Okay. What happens when we close? We lose what? We lose seats. Yeah. Yeah, well, hopefully. Yeah. We lose seats. We lose literacy. We lose children being ready for kindergarten. That's why the books have to be balanced in order for us to even have books. And so my Aunt Lula is going to come around and grab those for you. You see where I'm going with this? Yeah. It's an important component of what we do in early childhood education. I don't know what happened to the clicker. The clicker is gone. Let me see. I lost here it is, we're clicking again, good people. All right. This is just an example of one of the slides that I use with the directors that we work with. Y'all. Okay. What types of fees? We teach our directors at Next Memphis. We teach our directors about all of the different types of child care streams of income. We teach them about tuition and collecting it, extracurricular activities, late payments and fees, past due balances, late pickup fees, and other unique fees due to your site. Extended hours, they can make additional money there. We are working with them and teaching them how to write grants, how to do crowdfunding, the importance, and our director has been instrumental in this, the importance of them understanding the importance of collaboration. So Alicia Norman, thank you for that. And then what we're all about at Next Memphis, which is shared services, right? Shared services, and if you can get some donations, that's good. However, if you are a small business and you get a donation, it could possibly be what? Taxed. It's going to affect literacy, all of it. All right, I think we are very close to the end. We're going to, hopefully, you can identify some of the barriers that early childhood programs are facing due to everything that is going on in our early childhood community. Ms. Guy, you ready? We're going to give you all some bricks. Not everyone will get one because we really didn't think anybody was going to be concerned or really want to know a lot about balancing the books. That's kind of the boring part of it. But we are going to give you some bricks so that you can identify, if you will, write some of the barriers just from today that you have learned about that child care center owners and directors are facing and how those barriers affect literacy long term. How will they affect you all being champions for literacy? And then I also want you to think about what can you do as a literacy champion to mitigate some of those barriers. If you are an advocate for early childhood, if you work in the governor's office, if you are working in a collaborative space for early childhood, what can you do to mitigate the barrier that you've identified or learned about today or even knew about in the past? And how will you champion that for others? And then I'm going to get you to come up and share, and then we should be very close to being finished. I got some more markers. Anybody else need a marker? Anybody else need a marker? Okay. Thank you. Identify your barrier. What can you do as a literacy champion to mitigate that barrier? And then be prepared to share. Identify a barrier that is affecting early childhood programs related to money. Then I want you to correlate those barriers to literacy. And then what can you do? It can be something as simple as the barrier is parents aren't collecting fees. Child care center directors aren't collecting all of their fees. Right. That could be the problem, the issue, the barrier. How does that affect literacy? Without full tuition, child care centers and early childhood programs cannot effectively operate. What can I do as an advocate? I can simply tell the people in my community, if you put your child in child care, make sure you are paying those fees. And we are at 5 minutes, and so we've got to hurry. While you're doing that, I'm going to, my aunt is also going to pass around a champion and trophy sheet. We're going to come back to the barrier. But what I want you all to do with that trophy sheet is to think about how you can advocate, how you can speak truth to power. I used to get in trouble about speaking truth to power because I believe in early childhood programs, so the small, the little bitty ones, because it was a game changer for me. It was a wealth builder for my family, and my kids were smart. My kids were smart. My students, I'm talking about smart, ready to read. So that's like my passion work. So speaking truth to power, if you have the voice for it, some people don't, because it can ruin a career if you're not careful. You can volunteer and donate, and then you can allocate even your resources. Don't take them to those books to the Goodwill. Take them to the church nursery. Don't take those books to the Goodwill. Take them to your girlfriend's grandmother who keeps 3 babies because she's an unlicensed regulator, but the books are still in really good shape, right? She in the living room, the babies are fed, sung to. Take those books to her. You get some extra diapers that your nephew didn't use, take them to the local child care center or give them to the mother. Because if she doesn't have to spend that 20 on them diapers, she could spend that 20 on child care, or she could buy the books. You see what I'm saying? So we all in this big circle. It's a trickle-down effect. And I'm going to preach just for a moment, but I want you to know that I don't care if you're suburban, you got a lot of money, no money, used to have a lot of money, your cousin got a lot of money, you will see these children. So we make a choice when we advocate for children in literacy. You will see them at the bank as your banker, or you will see them at the bank as your robber. You will see them in the doctor's office as your doctor. I don't care who you are, what level, how much you remove yourself, how far you drive from it. You're going to see them at the doctor's office, or your insurance premium is going to go up because now you're having to help to insure uninsured people who don't have literacy, who were not prepared for kindergarten, because you thought you moved out to the suburbs and it doesn't affect you. It doesn't work like that. It's a circle. We all gonna touch each other. It does not matter. You can be whatever you want to be. We're gonna touch each other. We're gonna come in contact with each other. The server who picked up your plate, I would rather my server be literate because she'll hand me mayonnaise instead of mustard. I would rather my server be literate because when the computers go down at Chick-fil-A and they've got to hand write chicken sandwich, I want to know that they know how to spell chicken and not cheese. So you're going to see these children. You're going to see them. So give me your barrier if you have them ready. Take your champion sheet with you. Anybody ready to identify a barrier? If I could just have 2, and then how you're going to advocate and all of the good things and how it relates to literacy. Anybody want to give me a barrier? Thank you.
So just kind of an overview, barriers for child care centers overall is funding and resources. So what we suggest is to advocate for more funding for community-based child care centers, which is some of the work that I do because quality is not cheap. And then the other is to connect providers with literacy resources in their community so that they can take advantage of things that are already there, i.e. CCR&R, First State Memphis, organizations like that, making sure that they're connected to resources that are already available.
Anybody else want to share one of the barriers? Thank you. Anybody else want to share an identified barrier and how they plan to advocate? Okay, we got 2 people here, and then I'm coming back up to you, okay?
One barrier I said was paying qualified, educated, experienced teachers a livable wage.
How does that affect literacy?
Because if you pull somebody off the street, they don't know anything about child development. And that seems to be an issue right now because, I work with teachers. So pulling, just hiring anybody, it doesn't help those children meet those goals because they don't even know. But partnering with Tennessee Wages and trying to get them the supplement for that income gap.
Okay, very good. Thank you. I always say in small business, you can hire anybody, but you got to train everybody.
One challenge that came to mind, and I never thought of this, was the unintended costs due to lapse in paid tuition, and where is that going to be pulled from in the budget? And so I think One way we can champion that is like if there are any early childhood day on the Hill where we go as coalitions, we can discuss how those budgeting challenges and how they impact literacy directly with policymakers. And that helps build education, the first defense, like informing them that the business matters as well.
Thank you. She mentioned wages. I love that program. Thank you for Day on the Hill. I used to would never go when I had my business because I was too busy, but those are so important.
So my barrier was giving discounts to teachers and parents with multiple children. Right? We want to offer that, but if you are a small child care provider, that's an issue. So, and the issue is giving the discounts take money out of the budget, right, for literacy and other things. So how I would advocate is I would, one, walk them through the process of applying for Smart Steps, actually sitting down with them. Because I know when I was a director, what I would actually do is not only sit down with them, I would sit down with them, help them do it, and then I would physically take it to all they had to do is fill it out and get the information. I would take it. And then if they didn't qualify, still offer them a discount, but actually put a time limit on it. Like I can give you, maybe 20% or 50% off the second child, but only for 3 months.
Well, you guys have been a great audience. I'll stay around for questions and answers because she has stood up to let me know you're out of here, Terry. So I'm going to leave, but thank you all.